There's a moment that almost every dog owner recognizes, even if they have never really stopped to question it, and it usually starts in the most ordinary way. You stand up to grab something, maybe just a glass of water, maybe to walk into another room for a second, and before you even take a few steps, you hear it, the soft sound of paws following right behind you. You turn around, and there they are, watching you, moving with you, staying close, as if your movement somehow became their responsibility. At first, it feels normal, even a little funny, sometimes comforting, sometimes slightly inconvenient, especially when it happens all day long, from room to room without pause. But then it starts to raise a question. Why? Why does your dog follow you everywhere? Even when nothing is happening, even when there is no food involved, no clear reason, no command, no signal. Because the truth is, this behavior is not random. It is not just about curiosity, and it is definitely not just about habit. What looks like a simple act of following is actually a layered behavior, built on instinct, emotional attachment, environmental interpretation, and a psychological system that most people never fully understand. And once you see what is really driving this behavior, you stop seeing your dog as just clingy or attached, and start realizing that they're responding to something much deeper, something that has been shaping their actions the entire time. So if your dog follows you everywhere, the real question is not just why, but what that behavior reveals about how they see you. To understand why your dog follows you everywhere, you need to go back to something much older than your home, your routines, or even your relationship with them, because this behavior begins at the level of instinct. Dogs are, at their core, social animals shaped by a pack-oriented system, where staying close to key members is not optional. It is essential for survival, coordination, and stability. In a natural environment, separation from the group increases vulnerability, reduces access to resources, and creates uncertainty, which means that movement is rarely done alone unless there is a clear reason. So when your dog follows you from room to room, what you are seeing is not just attachment, but a deeply ingrained pattern that says, staying close to the one who leads, protects, or provides is the safest strategy. And over time, without you realizing it, you've been placed into that role, not through dominance or control, but through consistency. You're the one who feeds them, who opens doors, who creates structure, who reacts to the environment, and who ultimately defines what is safe and what is not. So when you move, your dog pays attention, because in their perception, your movement might mean something important is about to happen. And even when nothing happens, the instinct remains. Following you is their way of staying aligned with the center of their world, reducing uncertainty, and maintaining connection in a way that feels natural to them. Before we go deeper, it is worth noticing that behaviors like this often get misunderstood as neediness, when in reality they are rooted in something much more structured, and understanding that difference completely changes how you interpret your dog's actions over time. If you are starting to notice these patterns in your own dog, and you find yourself wanting to understand their behavior on a deeper level, following this kind of content can gradually change the way you interpret even the smallest actions, helping you build a more aware and balanced relationship over time. As this instinct continues to operate inside your home, something else begins to form on top of it, something more personal and far more powerful than pure survival logic. And that is the emotional association your dog builds around you. Because over time, you stop being just part of their environment, and you become the reference point that organizes it. Your dog starts to read your presence as a signal, not just of safety, but of meaning. When you stand up, when you walk, when you change rooms, even when you shift your posture, all of these small movements begin to carry information in your dog's mind, because they have learned through repetition that your actions often precede something relevant. Food, walks, interaction, changes in the environment, or even moments of attention. So following you is not just about staying close, it is about staying informed. It is your dog's way of keeping track of the source that shapes their day. And this is where the behavior moves beyond instinct and becomes psychological. Because now, your dog is not only following out of habit, but out of expectation. They anticipate that being near you increases their chances of understanding what is about to happen next. And in a world they cannot fully control, that sense of predictability becomes extremely valuable. This is why even the most independent dogs will still show this pattern, especially with the person they are most bonded to. They're not just attached to you emotionally, they're anchored to you cognitively. And that makes your presence something they're constantly drawn to. As natural and meaningful as this behavior is, there's a point where following you everywhere can shift from healthy connection into something more delicate, something that reflects not just bonding, but a growing emotional dependency. Because while many dogs follow their owners out of instinct and attachment, some begin to rely on that proximity as their primary source of stability, especially if they have not developed confidence in being alone or navigating the environment independently. In these cases, your presence stops being just a reference point and becomes a requirement. And the difference is subtle, but important. A dog that is securely attached will follow you often, but can still relax when you're not around, maintaining a baseline level of calm even in your absence. But a dog that has developed dependency will show signs of discomfort the moment that distance is created, becoming restless, anxious, or unable to settle without constant proximity. This is where behaviors like pacing, whining, excessive alertness, or even destructive actions can begin to appear, not because the dog is misbehaving, but because they have not learned how to regulate themselves without you nearby. So in some situations, following you everywhere is not just about love or loyalty, but about a lack of emotional independence. And recognizing this does not diminish the bond you have. It actually gives you a clearer understanding of how to support your dog in a more balanced way, where closeness exists, but confidence also has space to grow. Once you see all of these layers together, the behavior stops looking repetitive or random and starts to feel like a continuous message that your dog is expressing throughout the day. Because when your dog follows you everywhere, they're not just reacting to movement, they're responding to what you represent in their world. You're the point where instinct, safety, expectation, and emotional connection all converge. And that changes how you interpret every step they take behind you. What once seemed like simple attachment becomes something more structured, more intentional, and in many ways, more revealing. Each time they get up to follow you, they are reinforcing a decision. The decision to stay close to the one presence that organizes their environment, reduces uncertainty, and provides both emotional and practical stability. But at the same time, this awareness brings a second layer of responsibility. Because understanding why your dog follows you also means recognizing when that behavior is balanced, and when it starts to limit their ability to feel secure on their own. So the next time you notice those quiet footsteps behind you, instead of brushing it off as habit, there's something worth observing in that moment. Not just that your dog is following you, but what that choice says about how they see you, how they depend on you, and how much of their world is built around your presence.